I call the Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask the Minister and the Chair about what impact the negotiations in the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement are going to have on this legislation. And the reason why I raise the issue is that I have before me an article by Brian Fallow in the New Zealand Herald on the 31st of March. And in it he starts with what we all know, that really there is a balance to be struck, in his words, between on the one hand fostering innovation and creativity by protecting the fruits of such labours, and on the other stifling progress and actually causing cost, I would say, by making it too difficult and costly to access and build on the discoveries of others. And that impacts partly on patents, but also it has implications in respect of copyright. Now, I'm one who firmly believes that we need to protect the creative endeavours of the people who go to the effort to make creative content, whether it's a new design, a piece of music, a piece of art, literary works and poetry or a book. The people that put the effort in should be able to protect that and control the use of that in the future to a reasonable extent. Now, the Section 92 provisions that we have in this legislation are predicated on current assumptions as to the length of copyright. It only applies if something is copyright. If it's not copyright, copying it via the internet or any other means doesn't infringe anyone else's copyright. There's no property right being infringed. Therefore, the length of the term of copyright is actually absolutely fundamental to how this legislation works in practice. The leaked text from the US negotiators in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, according to Brian Fallow, includes an ambition on the part of the US, and I quote, "The US also seeks to extend the term of copyright from the life of the author plus 50 years to life plus 70 years. There are economic consequences of this, Mr. Chairman, and he quotes a recent study by the Australian Productivity Commission that said that conceding that would cost Australia between 70 million Australia, New Zealand $95 million, and 240 million Australian dollars. So the consequences of the government changing the underlying rules relating to the length of copyright, if the government was to buckle in these negotiations with the US, are very, very substantial. While I agree that we should be protecting the fruits of endeavour from people who create creative content or who make creative content, I do think they should have an end to the life of that. In the end, valuable copyright material ends up in the hands of corporates, if we're honest, more often than not. Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck aren't owned by the original people that drew the cartoons, but there'll be some corporations that's purchased them from somebody else. And so the corporate interest that we create in copyright, which is actually conferring monopoly rights on the holder of those rights, they are monopoly rights, needs to be limited as to term, and that term should not be excessive. And I, for one, think that even at life plus 50 years, it's already a bit long. That's my personal viewpoint. I'm not advocating to change for it, but I do think that life plus 70 years would be too long, and I want to hear from the government, from the Minister and the Chair, that they're not going to concede that. The next point that they make in the article is that this very vexed issue in respect of Section 92A that's under debate here will, if the Americans get their way in these trade negotiations, be up for grabs again. And I'm quoting it again. Rick Serra, IP partner of the Auckland law firm Lowndes Jordan, said the draft text reopened the vexed issue of the role of internet service providers in policing intellectual property rights. As ISPs, the conduits for infringing material, the film and music industries have targeted them around the world as the best place to throttle it. Quote, "We thought we'd almost got to the end of it with the copyright infringing file sharing amendment bill due to be passed in the next couple of months," Shearer said. "Imagine you are an ISP who has to bear the cost of gearing up for that regime, only to be told that it is Groundhog Day and we're going back to the Section 92A debacle." So, Mr. Chairman, I think it is an appropriate question of the Minister and the Chair to give some undertaking to the House that we aren't wasting our time on this, only to have the legislation effectively undermined by it being reopened if passed, only to be reopened by the negotiations under the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Mr Chairman.
I call the Honourable Minister, Dr Nick Smith.